Parapsychology Today, a program of investigation into the realms of the unknown. Suspend your mind for a moment and journey to a world beyond the five senses. Parapsychology Today is a program exploring ideas, theories, and concepts that have been around since ancient times. We'll journey to outer worlds and inner worlds. We'll look into such phenomena as past lives, UFOs, and hauntings. And we'll explore psychic ability as it relates to human potential. We do not intend to prove or persuade, but rather present theories and personal stories of ventures into the world of parapsychology. Whatever your beliefs, we hope this program will start you thinking about a reality beyond the five senses.
Hi, welcome to our show, Parapsychology Today. I'm your host, Pauline Nortness, and we have an exciting show. I always say that, but we really do. My guest today is Robbie Holz. Robbie's a healer, and she's a respected healer and an award-winning author of a number of books. In fact, today we're going to talk about one of those books, and it is called Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, and it's so exciting. I'm so excited I can't even talk. Robbie, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Pauline. It's nice to be here.
We did interviews a number of years ago, and I'm so excited to have you back. But
Yeah.
We've got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to move on. First I want to start out with you telling us about your story, because you've been through a lot. Tell us about, you had a difficult childbirth, and that started you on a very difficult path in your life. So go ahead, you tell us about your life.
Okay. Well, back in 1985, I had a delivery with my son, my only child, and it was a tough delivery. It was 36 hours. And at the end of it, they said that they would give me a blood transfusion if I wanted, because it would perk me up, because it was such a rough delivery. But we didn't know that there was hepatitis C in that blood transfusion. So the hep C almost killed me and left me in pretty bad shape. And then the experimental treatment that the doctors put me on almost killed me again. But at this point, I was left in pretty bad shape. I was in bed for at least 6 months, much longer, I'm sure. I just don't remember. I had temporary brain damage, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I was a mess. And Western medicine didn't have any answers for me. So I was determined to stay alive as long as I could, long enough that my son would remember me, because I knew he was way too young to have any memories of me, and I wanted to be around him and parent him and love him and have him get to know me as long as possible. So that put me on this quest of healing what the doctors said was incurable at the time, the hepatitis C, which was slowly killing me. So I found answers, and they were answers that were not typical for me. I was raised in a very conservative Midwestern, background. So to find alternative answers was different for me, but it worked. It was the only thing that worked. So I ended up healing myself completely of all of it, and absolutely killing the hepatitis C. And the doctors were like, you can't kill hepatitis C, but we'll test you to find out. And they tested me every year and found out that I had killed it. I didn't have it anymore. They didn't consider it curable at the time. So that put me on this path of wanting to help others heal as well. Because if I had believed what the doctors had told me back then, and I had some amazing doctors, but I would have just given up. I would have given my power to them, and I would not have pursued,
Can I interrupt you a minute? Now, who did you see? Who helped you? So where did you get your help from?
You mean the help that actually helped, that made a difference?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I went to a woman who was recommended to me, and she was a naturopathic doctor, but she had abilities that were very unusual, and this was all new to me. She would wave her hands over my body and know where the energy blockage was. I didn't even know what she was doing, but she could feel where the blockage of energy was, and she gave me natural herbs and worked on me. And eventually I had to change my thinking as well, because before I used to love being, I thought I did. I thrived on how much can I do at the same time, You know,
Mhm.
how many balls can I keep in the air at the same time? I thought I loved it, but my body did not, and I completely ignored it. So I needed to put myself on the list of self-care and pay attention to what am I feeding my body, what thoughts am I having, exercise that was just that my body was thriving again. And it turned out that it was the same thing that what the Aboriginal healers had taught my husband, who I hadn't met yet, but it was the same thing basically. So it just got me passionate about helping people recognize how they're creating disease, because I was definitely creating that, and how to heal it and sustain that healing.
Now you found this amazing lady. What led you to her? What made you decide to try something different?
Well, I had a neighbor that also had fibromyalgia, and she said her husband was a banker and she was very conservative. But she said, I have this woman that I've met who knows all about me, and I didn't tell her anything. And well, it turns out she's a psychic. And she didn't tell me that. I don't think she knew she was a psychic. We kind of called her a medical intuitive because the doctors and people would come to her when they couldn't find answers. So I went to this woman who I thought was a medical practitioner of some type. And my deceased grandfather came through her at the time. And he knew things that I didn't really know about him that she was telling me about. And I went back and talked to my dad, and it's like, sure enough, that's true. Homer was a farmer at some point in his life, little things like that. And she said, so she really gained my trust by knowing things that I could substantiate every single one of them and authenticate it. And she knew this woman, this naturopathic woman, who said, I think this woman's going to be able to help you. So she's the one that the naturopathic doctor that I went to, that started me going down a different line, natural herbs. And I remember making fresh kombucha tea, things like that. But my body was just starting to turn around and thrive. It was the only thing that made me feel better. And eventually I cured all of it. And I was tested every year by fortunately, we have a lot of the scientific experimental stuff going on in the Seattle area where I lived for hepatitis C. And so they would test me all the time. And they were kind of astounded. They didn't know how I did this. I knew how I did it, but I didn't think they would, I didn't think they were open to it.
Now your life sounded difficult, but very synchronistic. I mean, you met these people that helped you. I mean, you hadn't been into alternative healing before this time, had you? So
No.
it was amazing that it's kind of like somebody's watching over you and leading you to the right path.
Absolutely.
You want to say any more about your health and then we'll talk about how you met Gary and then his adventures with the Aborigines, and then you had your own special adventures. So we got a lot to talk about. Where do you want to go next?
Well, we can go to Gary. So I met Gary at a 4th of July party, and I didn't know anything about him, but I had heard that he was an amazing healer, and he was coming to this party, and it was an outdoor big party outside. And when I was introduced to him, apparently, I didn't know this at the time, but all the past lives that we had had together flashed across my face. I had no idea. And he was just, it really kind of freaked him out because that had never happened to him before. Now, Gary was a physicist. He was a world renowned physicist, and he had awards, and he'd been on magazine covers. And so but he also became a healer. And that's an interesting story, how he went into the outback. He had MS, and he ended up in a wheelchair. And the doctors, he actually had about 6 months left to live. The doctors kind of gave him this prognosis, letting him know you should put your life in order. Now, Gary, brilliant man, very strong and determined. He was determined to stay alive a little bit longer, as much as he could, because he had 2 small children that he wanted to be involved with as well. So he found out, again, synchronicities, meeting a woman in a jazz bar who happened to be from Australia, who knew that the Aboriginals, the remote Aboriginals in the outback, were known for having remarkable healing abilities. So at this point, Gary's in a wheelchair. He's a quadriplegic, which means he doesn't feel anything from the neck down. But he was determined to make it to the outback. And he went into the outback and spent time with his tribe. And he came out. I mean, he was unloaded off that airplane like cargo in his wheelchair. And after a short time with his tribe, he ended up being able to feel for the first time in his body. For 7 years, he had not felt anything in his body, and he was able to feel it. And he was able to clumsily walk on that airplane aisle, supporting himself with the seat backs. But the biggest change, Pauline, was the biggest change was when being with his tribe helped him realize there's a lot. As a scientist, he's very black and white, but they helped him realize there's a lot of gray that can't be proven, but it exists nonetheless. And he became aware of, he started developing the same abilities that the Aboriginals had in the outback. He could see remotely. He could communicate telepathically to people and animals. And I think it's interesting that the people who were autistic knew he was communicating to them. They were the only ones that really understood and had that ability as he did. He was able to start seeing inside the body, seeing blockages, seeing tumors. This is what the Aboriginal people were doing, and they taught him, and they gave their healing secrets to him because they said that we, Western civilization, does not understand how healing truly works. And this is ancient. This is passed down generation to generation by word of mouth for at least 60,000 years. And they wanted us to have it because they said that he had enough credibility to take it out into the world as a scientist, that they would respect what he was doing. And so we did that. We put it in a book, Secrets of Aboriginal Healing. And I was shocked to find that that book has taken off and is now in 46 countries and published in a number of languages because people resonate with the truth in it. And they understand what the Aboriginals generously gave us, their healing modalities, because we're not really understanding the role that the soul and the mind plays, especially the mind, in healing.
I was going to ask you what they did with him, but since you went there yourself for your edification, you were invited. We'll hear about that, and then you can tell us what, instead of repeating, you can tell us what they did, so you learned how they did their healing. So Gary was healed to a degree, but most importantly, he learned how to be a healer himself.
Yes, he didn't know that he had that ability. So he came back from the outback and he went back to school. He was already a physicist, but he wanted to, so he got a doctorate in immunology and a master's in nutrition and herbs because he wanted the credibility to help him use this to help people. Again, like me, was just passionate about helping people wake up on how to heal themselves and how they were creating the problem. Like for Gary, the Aboriginal people told him, Gary was raised by an abusive alcoholic father who used to beat him on a regular basis. So Gary, this brilliant man that he was, learned how to numb himself emotionally to it. That's how he survived. But eventually he ended up numbing himself physically as well with MS. And once he understood that he needed to get to the emotional root of this MS, the Aboriginal people were telling him, if you don't get to that emotional root and pull it out and clear it, it's like picking the top of a dandelion. It's going to keep coming back over and over. Just like people can have tumors removed and they'll come back again if you're still creating that kind of thoughts.
So we're creating our own diseases through our emotions and our feelings. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Because what you're thinking has there's different emotions create different cells. And Dr. Emoto showed us, right?
Yes, I read his book. The Power of Water, or something about water.
Yes,
yeah, I remember
absolutely.
that he directed negative energy to this vial of water, then positive to the other. And then when they froze the crystals, the ones with the positive energy, beautiful crystals, and the ones with the negative energy just deformed. Yeah, that was a great book and if you can show it, that really helps.
And that's what he's showing scientifically. Here's the evidence right here. Very discombobulated, the negative fear-based energy of cells. So your thoughts are creating not just the cells, but they're also creating energy blockage or flow. And the hardest emotions for the body to handle are self-hatred. Guilt is really tough on the body. And so Gary had all this resentment and anger towards his father. And when he learned to heal that, the MS started to
multiple sclerosis. MS is multiple sclerosis, right?
Yes, yes, it
Yes.
is. So the difference is when you start having loving emotions versus fear-based, that's really what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
The love emotions will heal you. They create, like you were describing, like beautiful snowflake type looking cells, and they also create a energy flow. So energy is moving through your body, it's not getting stuck. And so when he forgave his father, and that's what he needed to do in the outback, was realize that his father was a teacher. He didn't like it, but it taught him much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he started to heal and started to get feeling back in his body again.
How did he respond? Did it make him really happy? Was he so glad that he was healing, and he wanted to give it back, something back to people, because if he got help, he wanted to help others?
Exactly. He was just on fire with, we need to help other people recognize this, because this isn't something that, this was back in 94, I believe. This isn't something that Western medicine was doing. They weren't recognizing the connection of the mind to the illness.
They just do the body. They forget the mind and the spirit. Yeah.
Right. They're just doing the physical.
Yeah, we're body, mind, we're emotional,
Yeah. Well, and what the Aboriginals were telling us was that the body, the mind, and the soul all play a part in healing. And if you're not ready to be healed, or the soul has intentions for you to have this, whether you're blind or you become disabled or whatever, you have to understand what is the purpose behind that. Right? Maybe it's because I have more acceptance of other people with disabilities. There's a lot of reasons. But I think what people need to understand, and this is what Gary was teaching when he came back, is, for instance, if you hold a lot of grief, we hold that emotion, that energy in our chest area. And if you have a heart disease in your family or breast cancer in your family, and you keep doing that, holding a lot of grief for a long time, you're creating different cells, you're creating a blockage of energy, and you will not be able to heal that and sustain it. It'll just, like I said, if you have the tumors removed, they're just going to come right back. So you need to get to the dandelion root, so to speak, and realize, let go of the emotions that are causing the body to have this dis-ease.
Can I ask you about Gary? Was he
Yeah.
was he able to completely heal and walk again?
He did not completely heal and walk, and he asked the Aboriginal people, why am I not 100% healed? And they said, the rest is up to you. But I believe, Pauline, that his soul did not intend for him to be 100% healed, because he's one of those guys, I think he would have just gotten sucked right back into life again and overdoing it. And I think there were a number of reasons why. And he would later say that wheelchair was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it forced him to sit and connect to the other side, to connect inside as well. Whereas before he was this globe-trotting physicist, right? Mm-hmm. And then what he would see the Aboriginal people doing in the outback is that they spend almost half of their time in this connection, dream time, or whatever you want to call it. And that's what he realizes, that's what's real. That's really important.
I read your book, and I remember reading something, and it was kind of sad. There was a couple that had a child that had died, and they brought another child with illness, but Gary couldn't heal him because he said it wasn't its sole purpose. Could you explain that? I mean, sometimes we can't get healing because it isn't our sole purpose.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So Gary ended up becoming an amazing healer, and I was assisting him. And when we would go back to visit my family in Illinois, people found out about us, and we'd end up having so many people that wanted Gary to work on them. We would, rent a room at the hotel, at the suites, and have people for a month that just keep coming to us. But one of them, and this was probably the saddest one I ever experienced, where it wasn't to the people, but it was to Gary and I. This couple had already lost their child to some kind of a disease where they reach a point, they're only a couple years old, and then they start deteriorating, and it's pretty specific when they're going to pass. And they did not know that they were carrying that gene, and they had another baby before they found out about it. Now the first one died, and now the second one was going down the same path. So they came to us and asked what we could do. And now the first thing we asked every time is, are we supposed to help? Because if the soul doesn't want us to do that, it's not going to happen.
Who are you asking?
We were asking guides and helpers from the other side of the veil. Okay. We have a team, and the team involved healers, Aboriginals who were deceased, angels, archangels. I mean, it was a pretty big team, and the team changes according to who you're working with. But this particular, so obviously we were connecting to that soul, that baby's soul, and asking, do we have permission? And it's not about, what we learned is, it's not about whether we're good healers or not. We have nothing to do with it. We're just there as the go-between, so to speak, with the energy and the healing. And they said no. And now the parents, I just remember them walking down the hallway of the hotel with the baby in their arms, and it was dying. You could see it was losing its abilities. And Gary and I are just sobbing that we couldn't help, but we had to understand. And then this is something that the Aboriginals have said, Pauline, is that if you have the mind, the body, and the soul in all aligned with healing, anything can be healed. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If the body can still heal itself because you haven't gone too far, if the emotions become on board with the loving emotions, that'll help it heal. And if the soul is involved, and usually the soul does want them to heal. And with Gary, like, his soul wanted him to heal to a point, but not completely. So, but usually you can help them get better, if not all. So we never knew. It didn't matter whether you believed in the process or not. We had people come to us who were there because their mother-in-law made them come, but it was amazing and very interesting watching which ones were supposed to heal and which ones weren't, or they were only partially.
Well, when they healed, what were some of the reactions that blow their minds? I mean, did they just change their life, or? I mean,
oh my gosh. There's one, and this one's in the book as well. I love that these beautiful stories are in that awakening book, because I think it's interesting. He was healing animals as well, right? So it's, but there was a young man, he found out, it was probably in his early 20s, that he had brain tumors and he was going to pass. This is what the doctors had told him. His fiance decided she was going to marry him anyway, no matter what, no matter how much time they had left. So they got married. And then the new mother-in-law to this man said, I know about this healer. I want you to go. Please go for me. And it was Gary. So they came from another area of the state, drove up here, and it was a beautiful day out. And you could tell that the last thing they wanted to do when they have limited time on this planet is spend it in an office with a guy they don't believe in. But immediately, he went into the office with Gary, and within minutes, his headache went away. And he had a headache for years. So then he knew something was happening. And he came back a couple more times, and all the tumors disappeared. Now, they were inoperable at the time, and the doctors wouldn't operate on him because of where they were in the brain. But we encouraged him, now go back to the doctor and have x-rays or whatever, or CT scan, or probably a CT scan, I'm sure, and see what is going on. And when he went back, they were all gone.
That's wonderful. I love that story. I'm so glad that the soul said, yes, you can help me. Because it's so sad when they say you can't. Now,
and they were quite skeptical when they walked in the door, but it was supposed to happen.
Now we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to hear about your story. Now tell us about you, because you went to the Aboriginals too. They invited you. Tell us your story, how they invited you.
Right. So after Gary passed and I got the book out about Secrets of Aboriginal Healing, actually, no, I hadn't gotten the book out yet.
Did you both write that? Did you co-author that one, or did he write it? Or
well, it was written quite a bit before. We hadn't finished it. It was not published when he passed.
Okay, so you finished it up for him.
Yeah. And he lived 12 years longer than what the doctors had told him, and it was time to go, and he was being guided from his healing team that he would be passing, and he did.
That must have been hard on you, huh?
Oh, it was hard on both of us, because he was finally happy, and we had a beautiful marriage, and then now we're being told you got 6 months because you're going to be able to help us more. You're going to be able to help more from the other side. So
you still feel him around you? He's still working with you?
Oh, he's still very involved. Yes, he's part of my healing team.
I'm getting off the track now. I want to get you to the Aborigines. There's too much to talk about.
I know, there's so much. So anyway, I was invited. Gary passed in 2007. 2008, I was invited through a man that I had met through a mutual friend who knew the Aboriginal people. And he said that the women had decided to open up their ceremonies for the first time to foreign women. So I was invited to come from the United States. I think there were about maybe a dozen, maybe 12 to 20, I can't really remember, women from all over the world. And I went there with a friend of mine that I had talked into going with me. We went into the outback, and so I got to spend time with the women and their children, and we would do ceremonies I can't describe the ceremonies, but I can tell you that they're incredibly powerful, and that what I could feel, they keep raising your vibrations, your frequency. It's not like we're going to do this ceremony at 5 o'clock. It's when it's right. That's what they do. And then they'll call ceremony. You go running to the ceremony area. And what I could feel when in those ceremonies, I can describe this. I could feel the love from Gaia. It was immense.
Gaia is the earth. Not everybody
Yes.
knows what Gaia is.
Thank you,
Gaia,
Pauline. You're
the
so
earth.
good at filling in details.
I try to.
Gaia, I could just feel her love for all of us, and that we were her children, and that she wanted, I mean, it was just passionate love. And it's made me realize I don't really think about Gaia as much as I should. The other thing that happened in one of the ceremonies was I could feel that we were all one. I just could feel like the dragonfly in front of me, and the clouds and the people and the rocks. We were all one. I could feel it. It wasn't that I knew it, but I felt it.
Connected. We're all connected.
All connected.
Through energy.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. We all just kind of rolled into each other. It was just really, nice. It was it's one of those, you'll never forget it. So, yeah.
I read about what you went through, though. I'd want to learn to be a healer, but what you went through, I mean, I don't think I could handle that. The mud, and no baths, and tell us how difficult it was, because that blew my mind.
Well, and the thing is, a couple things happened there. When I was with the Aboriginal women, these were the tribes women who were, very, very powerful. And I said, do you want us to get this book out? Secrets of Aboriginal Healing. Do you want us to get that out? And they said, yes, they did. I wanted to make sure that I had their permission and their blessing. That was really important to me because of what the white people have done in the past to a lot of the Aboriginals, taking things from them. So got it out, and again, was shocked to find it just resonates with people around the world. So it was it's very eye-opening. The ones that we were around, we're not talking about all Aboriginal people, but the ones that we were around, they are in the outback, very safeguarded from society and civilization. They're very disconnected from everyone else, and they live in this amazingly connected way. I think of it as fifth dimensional existence. There's no competition, there's no they don't even have possessive words.
And I think you said they don't talk, they communicate
They're telepathic.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be fifth dimensional.
What Gary discovered was that we used to all be telepathic. And then when we started speaking out loud, we lost that ability. And they think that speaking out loud is very chaotic, which it is. It's very primitive. So we realized that there are a lot of these remote Aboriginals were living quantum physics, remote viewing, telekinesis. They can move things with their mind. They can talk to the herbs and find out which ones heal what. They could also talk to water, find out where the water was, and bless it, bless its food, bless all of it. It's just amazing. Their abilities, but also that they live in tremendous gratitude and love.
That's important. Gratitude and love are very important. I've been reading about that in a lot of my healing books. Also, we all have these tremendous healing abilities, but we've lost them, haven't we? And
absolutely.
I mean, even though they're separated from most of the world, there are people like this among us living in our world too, aren't there?
Right. And one of the 5 steps that the Aboriginal gave us in the Secrets of Aboriginal Healing, one of them is to become aware of what your mind is doing, and what kind of energy are you creating, what kind of thoughts are you creating, because you're going to be creating something there, and also this empowerment is the 4th step. Take your power back. If I had believed what the doctors told me, I would not have survived.
Yeah, I've heard of people go to a doctor and they said, you're going to be dead in 2 months. In 2 months, some of them just keel over. Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
We've got to take our power back. We really do. And we've got to realize that our thoughts, I remember when The Secret came out, I was really attracted to that. Your thoughts create your reality. So if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time, you're putting that negative energy in your body. So our thoughts are powerful, really powerful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. We're always creating something, whether we know it or not.
Yes. So how has your life turned out now? Tell us what you're doing and how things turned out for you.
Well, Gary did pass in 2007,
That's hard.
our guides told us, but I did not expect, Pauline, that he was going to show up every morning.
Oh,
And,
does he?
yeah, at 8 o'clock, always very punctual man. And he would show up, and then I discovered that I also had healing abilities that I didn't really know at the time because he was so phenomenal. I would just,
You'd help him.
yeah, pass it on to Gary. But through him, I began to develop more connection to the other side, and really develop those abilities to communicate to the other side and become a bridge for the healing to go through, so that I have a team, and Gary's part of that team.
That must be so satisfying to be able to help people and see them.
It is.
Oh, I just love it. Is there anything you want to add? We've talked about a lot, and there's so much information.
Yeah. Well, I don't do healing anymore. We used to do it remotely, in person, and then remotely. But what I did do is put all this information up on my website. There's an online healing course. There's books. There's an awful lot of free information up there on how to heal yourself, how to stop it. Because a lot of people know that their minds are sabotaging, but they don't know how to stop it.
I'm going to hold up your book right now, and there. And also, we're on the credits at the end of the show. We're going to give you out your website and your email. Can people email you? Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're not doing healing work, but you're doing workshops, and you're getting information out, which is great.
Yeah, getting the information out. And that's the key, is just get it out there. Pass it on. It's free. A lot of it's free. Just, whatever you need, take it.
Is there anything you want to add before we close up the interview? There's so much. It's exciting.
Okay, I think that what I would tell people is that what I'm getting from my team, my healing team right now, is this is what they want people to know. They're telling me, tell them they are way more powerful than they think. Way more powerful than they think.
How do we lose our power? Do you know? I mean, that's probably a whole nother story.
Yeah, but I really think our culture has
yes.
Conditioned us to believe that, and now it's time to take our power back and realize.
I like when you said they were 5-dimensional, because we're kind of living in the 3rd-dimensional. That keeps us powerless, doesn't it?
Exactly, and also mired in these lower vibrational emotions like depression and fear, and it's these higher frequencies of love and forgiveness and gratitude that the body thrives on.
Yeah, so that would be good to keep a grateful journal, wouldn't it? What you're grateful for every day. Yeah. There are a lot of things we can do. There are a lot of things we can do to raise our vibration. Well, Robbie, this has been fantastic. I mean, like I interviewed you years ago, and I want you to keep you going. I mean, this is when you help people, I think that's one of the best gifts you can give, and it makes you feel good. It raises your vibration, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pauline. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. Likewise, and we'll see you again.
Okay.
I want to say goodbye now. Bye, folks, and thank you for watching another edition of Parapsychology Today. And look on our credits. You'll be able to get in touch with Robbie. And it's so nice seeing you again. We'll have another great show next time. Bye-bye.